Hi, my name is Reina and I'm a cosplayer. And today I'm going to show you how to make Nami's Sorcery Clima-tact in a day. Important disclaimer before we start: when I say in a day, I don't mean it like you can start at 5 o'clock in the evening and finish it by 7. No, if you start making it early in the morning, you can finish it in the evening. So let's jump in. For the Sorcery Clima-tact Grow Up version, I used 3 cardboard sleeves, 1 for the handle, 2 for these ends, 2 8cm and 2 12cm styrofoam spheres. I also used 2mm EVA foam for the stripes, 5mm EVA foam for these rings. Instead of 5mm EVA foam, you can take 15mm EVA foam for these rings. It would be way easier. And I also used white acrylic primer, acrylic paint, acrylic gloss, and hot glue. And I needed the following tools: the box cutter, the glue gun, the heat gun, scissors, sandpaper, nail file. And you can also take Dremel, it would speed up the process, but I didn't use it, I just used the sandpaper and the nail file. For the handle and for the ends of the Clima-tact, I used 3 cardboard sleeves of different diameter, the biggest one being the handle. This end is a bit smaller than the handle in diameter, and this end is the smallest. So when the ends are completely inside the handle, this sleeve gets inserted into the handle itself, and this sleeve is inserted into this sleeve. You can also take pipe for this, but I really like the idea of being able to adjust the size of my Clima-tact like this. So I can extend the ends of my Clima-tact and make it super long, or I can put it inside the handle completely, like this. One of these sleeves was longer than the other one, so I had to cut off the extra end with the box cutter. Then I inserted both of these sleeves inside the handle to see if the length matched, and the short end of each of these sleeves should have been sticking out of the handle so I could put the rings and the knob on it. The smallest sleeve was way too small in diameter, so I had to cover it with 2mm EVA foam. I used hot glue for this, and I had to work as fast as I could, because otherwise this end would look ripped because of all of the dried out hot glue underneath the EVA foam. And I also had to roll this sleeve while pressing on it to spread out the hot glue. Then I cut off the extra EVA foam with the scissors and sand the seam with the nail file, but you can also use Dremel for this. For the handle, I took 2 8cm styrofoam spheres, pressed the cardboard sleeve against it to leave a mark on it, and then cut out a hole with the box cutter. Then I put the sphere on the sleeve and cut off the extra styrofoam around the end with the box cutter. And I did the same for the second sphere. Then I measured the girth of the handle and marked where the stripes were going to be. Since the handle was 12.5 centimeters in girth, I decided to put 6 10mm wide stripes on it with a spacing of 11 millimeters. Then I measured the length of the handle with the spheres and drawn out 6 stripes on the 2mm EVA foam. And I also decided to add a few centimeters to the required length. After cutting them out with the scissors, I glued them onto the handle with the hot glue. And since I added a few centimeters to the stripes, I also had to cut off the extra end with the scissors. It's easier to cut off the extra end than to add more to the stripe if it's too short. Next, I primed the handle with the white acrylic primer, and I painted the spaces between the stripes with the white pearl acrylic paint. And I painted the stripes with the orange acrylic paint. To be honest, it was a bit of a challenge since I also had to paint the sides of the stripes. So maybe consider covering the white spaces between the stripes with the tape so the paint wouldn't get on them. At last, I covered the handle with a few layers of acrylic gloss or acrylic varnish. Next, I had to make 2 rings and a knob for each end of the Clima-tact. Starting with the rings, I found a jar of a proper diameter and drawn out a circle on 5mm EVA foam. Since I didn't have 15mm EVA foam, I had to use 3 layers of 5mm EVA foam for each ring. So I've drawn out 12 circles in total, and I did not cut them out properly at first. I left a small rim around each circle and glued the 3 layers together first, and then I cut out a circle. If I cut them out properly and then glued them together, they might have ended up uneven, so I would have to cut them down and make them smaller than I intended. Next, I roughly cut off the edges on both sides with the scissors and smoothed them out with the nail file. You can also use Dremel for this, it would be way faster, but I personally don't like working with Dremel. That does get all over the place, even if you do it right next to a working vacuum cleaner. Then I used the cardboard sleeves to mark a hole in each soon-to-be ring and cut out holes in them with the box cutter. Then I put these rings on the cardboard sleeves, but I didn't glue them on just yet. And I also used the heat gun on the EVA foam, so on the rings and on that cardboard sleeve that was covered with EVA foam. The heat would melt the surface of the EVA foam a bit and close up the pores. This way the EVA foam would absorb less primer. Next, I had to make knobs for each end of the Clima-tact, and for this I took 2 12cm styrofoam spheres and cut them in a knob shape. For this I had to mark the rim of the knob, and luckily for me the styrofoam spheres had this seam, so I just had to draw a new line 2 cm away from the equator. Then I also used this seam to measure out the center of the opposite hemisphere. And I placed the cardboard sleeve to the center and drew out a circle that was going to become a hole. And I also drew an outer circle like a centimeter away from the hole. And then I had to cut off all the styrofoam from this rib down to the outer circle with the box cutter. That's how I got the knob, and I also had to smooth it with the sandpaper.
Two hours later.
Next, I had to cut out a hole in the knob with a box cutter and glue this knob to the sleeve with the hot glue. And then I also glued these rings right next to the knob. Then I had to prime the ends of the Clima-tact with the white acrylic primer, just like for the handle, but in this case I had to put a ton of layers of the acrylic primer on the knobs. And when I finally finished with the priming, I painted the ends of the Clima-tact with orange acrylic paint. At last I put a couple of layers of acrylic gloss on top. So that's how I made my Sorcery Clima-tact grow-up version. But there are a few important notes here.
Epilogue.
If you want to make the Sorcery Clima-tact with these cardboard sleeves, just like I did it, under any circumstances do not store it in this assembled state. I know it's tempting to pack the ends inside of the handle so the Clima-tact would take less space, but it would get ruined. So the paint on the ends of the Clima-tact might get stuck to the inside of the cardboard sleeves. That's why I only assemble it for the shoots. And as soon as I'm done, I disassemble it and store it separately. So good luck with your cosplays. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it helpful. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. If you're into One Piece cosplays, I have a whole playlist list of One Piece cosplay videos right here, and it will get way bigger soon. And also check out my Nami cosplay transformation video. I would be really happy to see you there, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a nice day! Bye!